Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcfl.gov/cleanhc.
Tampa Bay is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag? You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit tampabayrecycles.org.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners Comprehensive Plan Amendment Public Hearing. The Board of County Commissioners will consider for adoption of text amendments to the comprehensive plan this evening, and will also hold a hearing to consider the initial transmittal of plan amendments to the state for review. The board will also consider the approval of the annual update to the schedule of capital improvement set forth in the capital improvement section. I'll now ask the Planning Commission staff to introduce the first item on this evening's agenda.
Yes, sir. Thank you. For the record, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. For the first item, we have item A1. We have Ms. Erica Larson, who's going to be presenting this item. Thank you.
Good evening.
This is Erica Larson, Planning Commission staff. Good evening. This is Erica Larson, Planning Commission staff. This item is the Planning Commission's review of Hillsborough County's Capital Improvement Section, CIS, Schedule of Projects Update. This is an action item. Chapter 163 requires the schedule of projects or the list of projects addressing level of service and adopted in the comprehensive plan be updated on an annual basis. The update would replace the existing CIS schedule in the comprehensive plan with the schedule listed in your packet. The latest schedule reflects the adopted CIP that were recently approved. The update is accomplished by ordinance, which is explicitly permitted under Chapter 163. This is a routine annual update. We come before you each year with this information to support the ordinance. County staff identified projects in the CIS that affect the level of service. These items make up the schedule of projects. There was a recent Chapter 163 update that requires the CIS to include Basin Management Action Plan, BMAP projects, to be updated annually. BMAP is a framework for water quality restoration that includes a comprehensive set of solutions to achieve a pollutant reductions established by total maximum daily load, TMDL, as defined by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. These BMAP projects were coordinated with county staff from the Environmental Services Division. Additionally, the plans of other agencies are incorporated. Displayed is a summary of the CIS schedule of projects, which are placed into 5 program areas. Transportation, which includes sidewalks, bridges, and other pedestrian enhancements. Solid waste, water enterprise, stormwater, and parks. You can see the largest groups in terms of funding are transportation and water enterprise. The total funding amount for fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 29 is $3.59 billion for 184 projects. Displayed is a summary of the CIS schedule of projects, which are placed into 5 program areas. This following graphic displays level of service priorities for the CIS schedule of projects. $1 billion, 30% are eliminating deficiency. $735 million, 20% are maintaining level of service. $1.7 billion, 49% are future growth projects. And $2.4 million, less than 1%, is eliminating deficiency and future growth. The breakdown of level of service project types identified by the county is consistent with the level of service priorities outlined in CIS Policy 1.1.8. On this slide, you will see 3 objective and policy excerpts used in the consistency review. However, a full list of policies can be found in your packet. The first policy discussed was on the previous slide, CIS Policy 1.1.8, where project funding should first be expended on projects that maintain level of service and correct deficiencies before being expended on projects that serve future growth. The One Water objective listed discusses infrastructure location and directs infrastructure and facilities to the urban service area. Staff found 85% of overall projects are within the urban service area. The comprehensive plan also has a CIS objective regarding coastal high hazard area and limiting public expenditures for infrastructure and facilities within it. After review, staff found that projects within the CHHA were minimal and were either to serve existing development, repair, replacement, or enhance public access to natural areas. Planning Commission met on August 12th and found the fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 29 CIS schedule consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and recommends adoption by ordinance. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? If not, if there are any questions or comments from board members, can we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion by Commissioner Wellstell, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Right now, we're going to the adoption of amendments to the comprehensive plan. Staff want to introduce CPA 2423.
Yes, sir. For item A2, Ms. Katrina Corcoran will be presenting. Thank you.
Good evening, Katrina Corcoran, Planning Commission staff. I'm here tonight to present on unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment. This is the local functional classification map. A bit of background on this request: it is publicly initiated, and it is a text amendment and adoption of a map. And although it is a text amendment, so again, a bit of background on this request. It's publicly initiated. It is a text amendment for the adoption of a map, and although it is a text amendment, no policies will be changed as a part of this amendment. It was previously within the January 2023 cycle, but was withdrawn due to Senate Bill 250, which restricted Hillsborough County's ability to adopt plan amendments. However, since then, that bill has been is not applicable to Hillsborough County. This slide gives more background on the map. The Mobility Sections map series includes Map 7, which is the local functional classification map, and it's currently non-adopted. In coordination with various stakeholders, this map was updated by Hillsborough County's Community and Infrastructure Planning Department. You may be wondering, what is functional classification? So functional classification of a road is the group of roads to which the road belongs. A typical list of roadway characteristics is considered, which can include but is not limited to things such as posted speed, number of lanes, traffic generated, etc. The amount of mobility and access offered by different classifications varies based on type. There are 4 main functional classes: principal arterial, collector, and local. Arterial roads generally provide the fastest method of travel and typically have low accessibility from neighboring roads. They're usually designated with long distance travel in mind and are not as common as the other 2 functional classes of roads. And principal arterials include interstates and highways. Other arterials are considered minor arterials. Collector roads are the second most common and are used as a connection between local roads and arterial roads. Collectors provide less mobility than arterials at lower speeds and for shorter distances. They provide a balance between access and mobility. Finally, local roads are the most common roads, but also the slowest for travel. They're designed specifically to have high accessibility and to connect to collector and arterial roads and are typically not used for through traffic. Finally, a road's functional class can have an impact from a comprehensive plan or land development code standpoint. This includes allowing or directing certain land uses to be located on certain types of roadways. So for example, commercial locational criteria requirements or encouraging higher density residential uses on arterial roadways. There are also LDC considerations for transportation safety and access. This slide shows you the proposed changes, and this is the local functional classification map that would be adopted. The amendment also proposes to rename it to Map 4 to be grouped with the other mobility section adopted maps, which are Maps 1 through 3. It is currently listed as Map 7. There is also a minor clarifying update for another adopted map, as noted in your packet. This amendment would remove 2021 from Mobility Section Map 3 on context classification. The Planning Commission found HC CPA 2423 consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, and it was transmitted by the BOCC for state and regional agency review. And this amendment is up for adoption tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item?
Move for approval.
Got a motion to approve Commissioner Myers, second Commissioner Cohen. No, Commissioner Wostel.
I just have one question on page 8 under the residential density bonuses for infill development. It's kind of my concern about how broad this urban service area deal is, where it says categories which permit up to 35 dwelling units per acre may increase to 50 dwelling units per acre using this bonus. But there's nothing in there that restricts if it's all the way out on the edge of the urban service area near Dover. You could end up with this bonus having 50 dwelling units per acre.
I'm happy to clarify that, sir. For the record, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The example that Ms. Corcoran provided was for just a general indication of when we use the functional classification map. One of the ways we have that is in the comprehensive plan today as part of the infill bonus. That language that you listed specifically, that talks about just specifying when you do have a future land use category that allows 35 dwelling units per acre. There's nothing in the plan they always say you can bump up to the next category, since that is the max category. That just clarifies you can go up to 50. So you can't go up to 100 or 500. But that is just for the categories that would allow 35 units per acre. So UMU 20 allows 20 units an acre. RMU 35 allows 35 units an acre. And just for clarification purposes, the future land use categories that allow 35 dwelling units per acre, there aren't very many locations of those. There are things like the Brandon Mall, the University Mall area. Those are the areas that could potentially qualify for this bonus. But again, it's an infill bonus, and there's other provisions under that policy. And if you wanted to look at it, it's under 23.5 in the future land use element today. We did retain that bonus for the update, which is not yet effective. You all adopted that. That went back to the state. And we're in the 31-day period for that, so it's not yet effective. But that's the sentence that you're talking about with the 35 going up to 50 dwelling units per acre. That is only in those very specific cases where that particular bonus would be applied for in those higher density categories. Does that make sense?
Okay, and then my other question.
So not in Dover.
Not in Dover. My other, I guess it's less of a concern, is more of a comment. On the same page under commercial locational criteria, this is something that we've addressed a couple of times in the past, that the comprehensive plan is supposed to be a very broad, generalized rules of how we operate. But on this one, on policy 22.11, it just gets down to very specific policies regulating the amount of square feet, and that just doesn't seem like something that would belong in a comp plan. That seems like something that would be covered in land use codes and processes. And I'm happy to clarify on that. So as Melissa mentioned, the policies that I cited are from our previous future land use section that has now been updated. So, and she can probably speak to that particular policy on commercial locational criteria, but those were cited to show the examples of how local functional class works. Okay. We're not changing any of the language, and this language, yes, would appear a bit older because we have the different cycles of the plan amendments, and this one has gone through before the future land use section is.
Same reason as before.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a motion, Commissioner Myers and Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, HC CPA 24-24.
Yes, sir. That brings us to item A3, which will be presented by Ms. Sophia Garantiva.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission staff, here to present on HC CPA 24-24, the Palm River Progress Village Community Plan, also known as the Greater Palm River Area Community Plan Update. To summarize the request, this is a publicly initiated text amendment. The community plan is part of the livable communities element of the comprehensive plan. The Board of County Commissioners asked staff to update this community plan back in September of 2022. Background on the adopted plan, it was originally adopted in 2008 as the Greater Palm River Area Community Plan. The boundaries generally include Palm River, Tampa Bay Bypass Canal to the north, US Highway 301 to the east, Tampa city limits to the west, and the limits of the Riverview Community Plan to the south. The community plan area also includes multiple established neighborhoods such as Palm River, Claremont City, and Progress Village. The adopted plan established a vision, 9 goals, and several strategies. And to quickly review the community plan process, it kicked off late, again, 2022. Throughout 2023, there was regularly scheduled community engagement. Draft documents were prepared and presented to the community, and technical meetings were held with county staff. In 2024, the final community meetings were held, drafts were finalized, and the comprehensive plan amendment process was initiated. There were numerous community engagement opportunities that were open to the public, including open houses, online engagement, monthly office hours, also monthly meetings with the Community Plan Advisory Committee, a voluntary group comprised of community members and stakeholders that provided input on draft policies. Notice for community meetings were given through a combination of mailed postcards, email, sign postings, social media posts, and were also posted on the project website. Staff also attended events in the community to bring awareness to the effort and gather input. And based on the input received from the community, in collaboration with county staff, 4 main changes to the community plan are proposed. Renaming the community plan to Palm River Progress Village Community Plan to address the community's concerns regarding community identity. Updating the vision statement and concept plan to include neighborhood names and reflect updates to the strategies and goals. Also combining related goals to focus implementation efforts, going from 9 adopted goals to 5 proposed goals, and goals were also reprioritized. And lastly, strategies were clarified by relocating action items to a separate non-adopted report that will accompany the community plan. For the consistency review, staff found that the proposed amendment was consistent with the following comprehensive plan objectives and policies. And on July 8th, 2024, the Planning Commission found HC CPA 24-24 consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, and it was transmitted by the BOCC for state and regional agency review on August 9th. No comments were received, and that concludes my presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to the item?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Jake Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller. I just wanted to speak in support of this project. I've engaged with staff for a couple of years now on behalf of several clients that own property within the community plan. I think this is maybe the rare instance of regulations getting better. They're streamlined and they're much more clear. So our clients now know what they can and can't do with their property, and I think everybody's better off because of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this item? Commissioner Wilstrom?
Thank you. I just want to make sure, do we need to consider any changes to Goal 2 since we removed the built environment chapter of the comprehensive plan a couple of meetings ago?
So we can certainly change the name because it was based on the previously adopted comprehensive plan. That is something I believe we can do.
Is it still taking into was the approval of it though to this point considering the elements of the built environment chapter that was in, or goal that was in the comprehensive plan?
If you don't mind, I can jump in here. I would say that the built environment referred to in Goal 2 is a very generalized term, built environment, as in not the natural environment, but it doesn't specifically refer to the goal that was deleted when the future land use element was updated and you all transmitted it and adopted it. So I'd say this is a very general reference to built environment, as in not the natural environment.
Correct. It was more of an inspiration taken from the other parts of the comprehensive plan.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
Can we get a motion to approve Commissioner Wilson, second Commissioner Myers? No other comments, please record your vote.
Yes. Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, HC CPA 24-20.
Yes, sir, thank you. This is item A4, and Ms. Alexis Myers will be presenting this item. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present HCCPA 2420, located at 16011 North Nebraska Avenue. This is a small-scale, privately initiated map amendment that is approximately 2.11 acres. The applicant is proposing to change the future land use category from residential 4 to suburban mixed use 6. Here is the general location map. The site is in the urban service area and within the limits of the Lutz community plan. Here is the aerial. The site is outlined in pink. The blue dotted line indicates the Tampa service area, and the solid blue line indicates the urban service area boundary. The site is north of North Nebraska Avenue and Interstate 275, and south of Hannah Road. It is in the FEMA Flood Zone X and currently has light industrial uses on the site. There are single-family uses to the north and east across I-275, and a group home and a mobile home park to the west. Here we have some pictures of the site. Here's looking towards the subject site from North Nebraska Avenue. Here we have looking east from the subject site towards North Nebraska Avenue. And now it's looking west from the subject site. And here's looking east from Hannah Road. The subject site is out of frame to the right. Currently, the future land use designation of the site is residential 4. Other future land use categories shown in this map include residential 1 and residential 2 to the north, and office commercial 20 to the south. Again, the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation to suburban mixed use 6. Next, we have the impacts. The proposed amendment will result in an increase in density, and it will introduce suburban scale commercial and industrial uses. Next, we have some agency comments. The proposed amendment received no objections from the Environmental Protection Commission, Hillsborough County Public Schools, and the County and Infrastructure Planning Department. The next two slides are regarding the consistency review. The proposed request is consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. Again, the proposed request is consistent with the following objectives and policies, along with the goals and strategies in the livable communities element. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this ends my presentation for HCCPA 2420.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Tu Mai of HT Mai Inc. Office address is 14031 North Del Mabry Highway, Tampa, Florida 33618. As staff stated, the subject site is 2.11 acres and is located north of North Nebraska Avenue, west of I-275, and south of Hannah Avenue or Hannah Road. It is located within the urban service area and is in the Lutz community plan. The subject site is currently zoned commercial general with a future land use designation of residential 4. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from Res 4 to SMU 6 to allow for the installation of a billboard on the site next to I-275. The Planning Commission found the request to be consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. As you can see from the aerial, the site has an existing commercial build-out. Therefore, there is essentially no impact on intensity or density, nor future entitlements requested. Although the site is zoned CG, when Outfront Media applicant applied for permitting for the installation of the billboard, FDOT required that the billboard be located within the commercial land use designation. Therefore, we are requesting the change from Res 4 to SMU 6 for the installation of the billboard. To add a little bit of context to this property and project, in a court settlement on April 11th, 2001, between Hillsborough County and Ellert Media Company, now known as Outfront Media, the court ruled allowing the media company the entitlements to install billboards within the county. To conclude, we received no objections from neighbors or review agencies. Thank you to the Planning Commission for their recommendation. We respectfully request your approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to the item? If not, can we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Myers, second, Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Okay, we'll now begin the hearing on transmittal of comprehensive plan amendments to the state for review. The following amendments are a series of pairs of related amendments. Each side has a requested text amendment to expand the urban service area and a map amendment associated with the same piece of property in order to change the property's land use category. Therefore, we'll be opening up both amendments at the same time to have a consolidated public hearing, including a consolidated staff and applicant presentation on each site. At the end of each public hearing, separate action will need to be taken on each amendment in the pair. So this time, I'll again turn over to Melissa Leinhardt, who will introduce the first pair of amendments.
Yes, sir, thank you. And I just on the record wanted to clarify a few things. There's been a lot of recent public comment you all have received, and we as Planning Commission staff have received, related to the urban service area boundary and its potential expansion. I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about the next 8 items on the agenda. As you mentioned, under the B items, they are for transmittal to the state. They are privately initiated plan amendments. These items are not being initiated by staff at this time, so I wanted to draw a delineation between the two processes because they are very related in concept and nature, but tonight they are very separate. In addition to the separate 8 items that we're talking about tonight, I wanted to add a few things on the record about the ongoing urban service area expansion study. That was board directed on November 15th, 2023. And as part of the first phase of that expansion area study, the focus will be on 2 areas as the board decided. That's both Waimama and Balm. These regions already have future land use designations of Waimama Village Residential 2 and Residential Plan 2, or WVR2 and RP2. Because we love acronyms, and those allow for the consideration of more density than the usual rural standard of 1 dwelling unit per 5 gross acres. There is some upcoming public engagement opportunities that I wanted to announce on the record, and for anyone listening and anyone here, there is going to be 2 in-person open houses for that study. One is on Wednesday, November 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and one is on Saturday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the location of those is the Sumner High School cafeteria. That's located at 650 County Road 672 in Riverview. All this information is on the Planning Commission website, which is planhillsborough.org. There's also a virtual meeting on Tuesday evening, November 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. You can sign up for that meeting on our website. And you can also sign up for updates about the study on the website as well. Again, that's planhillsborough.org. But again, that is a separate study than what we're talking about tonight. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Alexis Myers for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff, here to present HCCPA 2407, located at 5711 Bishop Road for the Urban Service Area Extension. This is a privately initiated text amendment to expand the urban service area boundary on 575 acres. It is associated with the map amendment HCCPA 2319, which I will present right after. This is an aerial of the site for the text amendment. The subject site is outlined in yellow, and the blue line indicates the existing urban service area boundary. The site is located east of Westlake Drive, south of Bishop Road, and west of County Road 579. Okay, current adopted policy direction in the future land use element is to direct new growth into the urban service area. At least 80% of the population growth will occur in the horizon of the plan. Development in the urban service area is typically 4 dwelling units per gross acre or higher and has urban infrastructure such as water and sewer. The comprehensive plan update identified the need to expand the urban service area to accommodate future population growth. The site is within the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category, which allows 2 dwelling units per gross acre, which is higher than typical rural densities. Development in the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category must meet certain requirements such as connecting to water and sewer and community benefits. Okay, the amendment would bring 575 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connecting to public water and sewer. Planning Commission staff received no objections from this text amendment. We did receive comments from the following agencies: the Environmental Protection Commission, the Conservation and Environmental Lands Management, Community and Infrastructure Planning, and the Water Resources Department. The proposed amendment is consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And now I will go to the map amendment, if you don't mind. Okay, again, this is the accompanying map amendment for the text amendment HCCPA 2407, and this is the map amendment HCCPA 2319. This is a privately initiated plan amendment that is large in scale and a little over 408 acres. Currently, the future land use designation is Waimama Village Residential 2, and the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation to Residential 4. Here is the general location map. The amendment is in the rural service area. This amendment is within the limits of the Waimama Village and South Shore Area-Wide Systems community plans. It is located east of Westlake Drive, west of County Road 579, and south of Bishop Road. Here's the aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the urban service area boundary. The site currently has agricultural and vacant land. The site also has wetlands, significant wildlife, and is in the FEMA flood zone AE. There are single-family uses and agricultural to the west, northwest, and southwest. There are public, quasi-public institution uses and agricultural to the east, northeast, and southeast. Here we have some pictures. This is looking towards the subject site. Bishop Road is out of frame to the left. This is looking east of the subject site from Bishop Road as well. This is looking east towards a stormwater pond from Bishop Road. And this is looking northeast from the subject site from Bishop Road as well. Currently, the future land use designation of the site is Waimama Village Residential 2. Other future land use designations shown in this map include natural preservation to the east and south, and Residential 4 and Residential 6, which are just within the urban service area to the north. Again, the applicant is proposing to change the future land use designation to Residential 4. Next, we have some impacts. Overall, the proposed amendment will result in an increase in density and introduce suburban scale commercial and residential uses to a predominantly agricultural area while also eliminating community benefits. Next are agency comments. The proposed amendment received no objections from the following agencies. The next two slides are in regards to the consistency review. The proposed request is consistent with the following goals and, objectives and policies of the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment is also consistent with the goals and strategies of the South Shore area-wide systems and Waimama Village community plans of the livable communities elements of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this concludes my presentation for both the text amendment and map amendment for HCCPA 2407 and HCCPA 2319.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. I will be brief. I think you all know what we're really up to here tonight. Just some high-level context to what the Planning Commission presented. It's not a coincidence that you have 3 applicants here tonight working together on 4 contiguous projects in the same area of South County. This board gave direction, as was mentioned at the end of last year via Commissioner Myers, to look at certain areas for urban expansion, and this area in Waimama, WVR2, is one of them. I believe it was given actually top priority. As a follow-up to that, Commissioner Owen at the time directed everything behind that expansion should come in at R4, and that's exactly what we're asking for tonight. I think that this first effort, even though it's privately initiated, and we're a little bit ahead of staff on this, is a perfect example of how to do this, because what we have are 3 contiguous projects here, mine's the one in the middle, that are already approved plan developments with infrastructure, utilities, and zoning approval in place. What we're really asking for tonight is to just take those benefits, that utilities, the infrastructure we've already adopted, and give it a suburban density of 4 units to the acre over the 2 that exist now. As was mentioned, we have a squeaky clean record with the agency comments. The Planning Commission originally didn't support us, but the Planning Commissioners did, and I think everyone's behind us now with that. There are some real benefits to this project as well, not just the extension of the utility lines, but as we 3 applicants have worked together, we've actually come up with a pretty exciting, I think, transportation program for improvements in the area, and really a way to make these 3 projects work together cohesively. So with that, we very humbly ask for your support on this project as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this item? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Augie Grace. I am a member of the Waimama Community Plan Advisory Council, and we appreciate the Council's or the Commission's efforts to look at long-range planning, but we are opposed to the urban service area boundary expansion from the current WVR2 to residential 4. We oppose all 8 of these comprehensive plan amendments being considered. We are not against growth altogether. In fact, last year we worked with a developer and we supported PD 23-0041, which was 900 acres and 1,800 homes. We met with the developer to get commitments for community benefits for Waimama. Those benefits included multi-use trails, lands dedicated to Hillsborough School Department, public parks with athletic facilities, acreage dedicated to childcare and civic space, and 180 units of affordable housing. So all of these were great benefits to Waimama. But let's start by looking at some of the major issues that are going on in Waimama, and I want to look at the flooding issues, and I presented a couple of photographs here. So the first couple of photographs are photographs that we're taking from the Tampa Bay Times, and it just shows some of the damage that was done in the area. This is a photograph of an aerial view of some of the flooding that occurred in Waimama. This is another aerial view of some of the flooding that's been occurring from Tropical Storm Debbie and from Milton. This is another view of flooding that has occurred. And this is a picture of some of the flooding that has occurred. So Waimama residents feel very strongly about their opposition to these proposals. Originally, this was supposed to come up at the September 26th, which was the hearing in which the hurricane occurred, and it was postponed to December 12th. And last week, we were notified that the 8 amendments would be heard today on November 7th. So that didn't give us a lot of time to respond to it, but in less than a week, we had a petition signed by residents, most of the residents from Waimama. We have over 1,600 residents.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else like to speak to this item? Please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioner and board members. Thank you. My name is Ted Canty. I'm a resident of Waimama. I don't have much to add to what Mr. Gray said, other than one of the things that we're very concerned about, the Waimama CPAC, not only traffic, in addition to the flooding concerns that seem to be mounting, was the 911 services. Currently, my sister works on the squad down in Sun City Center. There are days where they have 20 to 40-minute backup, and residents are waiting that long for that service. This type of density, I feel, will greatly impact the residents that need that service to be very quick and prompt in a matter of life-saving. So I ask the Commission to think about that in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Good evening.
Good afternoon, evening. What do we get, 3 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so some of the points I want to point out is going to go to all of them. I'm going to kind of spread it out through all 8 of them. First of all, I want to thank the commissioners for helping out when I asked for help in Gibsonton to bring in us support and stuff for the flooding and stuff. But you failed us on all the other counts. I wish it was that easy to get help for infrastructure, roads, improvements, and everything else. I mean, we've been dealing with South County issues for the last 20 years. We're behind on whatever. 3 years ago, we did the moratorium. You paid a big consultant for us to come out there and listen to us. You kept extending it because of COVID. For 3 years, we sat down with landowners, the developers, and everything else, and hacked out a plan that we thought was reasonable for everyone. And why did I say that? Because I don't think anybody from that table came back, left that table happy that they won. Everybody lost, everybody won, so I believe it was a good meeting, and we came down to, now you just want to throw all that out the window? Talk about waste of county money. I mean, why not, why aren't we extending to Fishhawk? Is there too much money there to fight? And this, and I didn't bring the paperwork, but I believe there was some of these properties down there that had TDRs that were taken from some of these properties and moved somewhere else. And my understanding is when the TDR is used on a property, that property is not to be developed with a higher density later on down the road. So I want the board to check into that and make sure that's not a factor. And going back to the moratorium stuff, I mean, we sat down, community benefits and everything else. If we do the R4, my understanding are we're going to lose all the community benefits as far as in the area that's going to help some of the schools, got sidewalks, the playgrounds for the children and all this stuff. And, you know, I know I'm from Baltimore, I'm here talking about Waimama, but hey, it affects everyone in South County. So I just, I felt strong enough to come up here, have my voice heard, and I'm sure I'll come up with something else for the next application coming up. So thank you very much.
Sir, could you speak your name for the record?
Buddy Harwell, Balm, Florida.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone, commissioners. My name is Sean Das. I'm actually the author of the Paul's Hillsborough petition that I'm presenting here. Okay. It was created on change.org. As my comrade Augie Grace mentioned, that we do have over 1,600 signatures to date on the petition, right? I just want to approach this from a different perspective, from the engineering aspect of it and looking at it from a watershed perspective, right? We've heard the explanations: drains clogged by dead fish, mechanical issues with infrastructure like lift stations, and engineering will figure it out. But let's be clear, engineering has not figured it out. The issues we face are man-made, driven by unchecked development and the lack of coordinated planning. Today, I represent over 1,600 signers of the Pause Hillsborough petition and urge a comprehensive review of the true impacts of development in our area. The comprehensive plan speaks of creating great places, built to stand the test of time, but without robust infrastructure and resilient engineering, these great places are only words from paper. The proposal to expand the urban service area for higher density housing up to 4 homes per acre must be stopped until we can ensure development won't strain our watersheds. We see here the Little Manatee River watershed that encompasses that area. To approve these lands use change is premature, reckless, and puts our communities at risk. We need a comprehensive infrastructure before any further expansion. For example, consider the Little Manatee watershed spanning 244 square miles and affecting both Hillsborough and Manatee counties. Within these watershed lies man-made Lake Parish, owned by FPL, with a dam that releases water directly into the Little Manatee River. Yet there's no data available to the public about how and when this dam releases water. Many residents suspect that releases from the dam, particularly this year, have contributed to severe flooding along Saffold Road during recent storms like Debbie, Helene, and Milton. And it's not just a Manatee problem. This is a complex regional issue that impacts both counties. It requires coordinated response from Manatee County, Swiftmud, FEMA, and Hillsborough Engineering, working together at one table. Right now, this cooperation is not happening, and we're left with disjointed piecemeal solutions that only add to the problem. The last update to the Little Manatee River watershed plan was in 2002. The Stormwater Management Technical Manual, which was revised in 2022, includes data for as far back as 1965 to 1989 and outdated information from the USDA, FDOT, SwiftMud, and FEMA. The most recent TR 55 from USDA, Urban Hydrology for Small Watersheds, was published in 1998. FEMA's last flood map, publicly available on their websites for these areas, Saffold Road 579 corridor, was updated in 2008.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate your comments. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Al Bruner. I live in northern Waimama. I'm here along with Buddy and Augie and Sean here in adamant opposition to these extensions and the 8,000 homes that they are bringing into this area with no infrastructure to support it. We are creating unbalanced communities that are effectively creating the ghettos of tomorrow today. People with money and jobs that have to go through this infrastructure to get to jobs that have the salaries sufficient to pay for the mortgages are not going to tolerate the amount of traffic and the time that it takes and the dangers that have come from overcrowded, substandard, subpar infrastructure. I know, I've traveled it. I've watched my commute times coming into South Tampa go up from 45 minutes to an hour 15 to an hour 30. And if there's wreck or there's bad weather, that can double up to the point where I don't even bother trying to travel during those timeframes and usually stop at a local facility and just wait the weather out or the traffic so I can do something else. As one of the other people illustrated earlier, we don't have the firehouses. We don't have the first responders. We don't have the roads to get to people. You're creating unsafe scenarios. We need governance for all, not a select few that make a lot of money. And then have people have the audacity to come to us and tell us we have to raise taxes to pay for infrastructure that these other people brought in and created these problems and these bottlenecks, and then tell us that we have to pay for it while we suffer through it. I'm sorry, that gets me a little frustrated because I don't feel I'm getting governance for all the money being expended, all the talks that we've been doing, because I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and it's very, very frustrating. I'm tired of seeing overcrowded schools. I'm tired of city bureaucrats or county bureaucrats telling me, like Sumner High School, we didn't think how crowded it was going to be by placing a huge school on a 2-lane road with no sidewalks and kids walking along a main trucking route that goes from the mine to the port, let alone all the dump trucks bringing all the dirt in to those other developments, or even developments like across from Sumner High School that actually raise the land level. May not flood in those homes, but it sure adds to the water and flooding concerns for those around them. We need good governance for all. We need a balanced approach to community development, and affordable housing is insufficient. We have to balance across all things. That means commercial and not simple retail, and industrial that'll bring in jobs and cover across the community, along with the infrastructure that makes it all work smoothly. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak to this item? Okay, we'll go into board discussion. Again, 2 votes are required. The first one is for CPA 2407. Commissioner Wilstel.
Yeah, I was just going to say the good news for infrastructure is that we just had a vote and the citizens came together and set a new agenda for this board, and with a new pot of money that is not bonded away like the current CIT was. So it's really going to be incumbent upon us to set that plan forward and making sure that those things happen. Over the past couple of years, impact fees for developers, even probably to their dismay, were raised to 100% to my understanding of what the studies showed that they should have been paying in all regards, including firehouses, which CIT, if needed, will also be able to go towards to supplement. I would say an important note for all of the reach out that we got, 95% of the emails were from Valencia Lakes. Valencia Lakes is not Waimama Community Plan. Valencia Lakes is Sun City Center Community Plan. So it's really challenging and sets a dangerous precedence if all of the outcry and opposition to changing other people's community plans are from people that don't even live in that community plan. It's very dangerous, and the reason that I say that it's dangerous is that the state just showed every single local government with the Live Local Act that if you are incapable or unwilling to create a planning that will accommodate your growth, we're just going to supersede you in every regard, and we're also going to give the attorneys the rights to extreme damages and penalties if you intervene in us superseding your ability to create meaningful growth in that area. And it's growth is challenging, and we are one of the more attractive places to be. Waimama's community plans calls for a lot of elements that are to overhaul its downtown sector, and they also require in that community plan for that growth in that downtown sector to be on public utilities. It specifically says that. It's deep in the community plans, like around the page 177 to 188 mark, somewhere in there, it calls for those things. Well, you're never going to get those things if you don't consider increasing this planning tool, which is what the urban service area is, into that area. And again, the state has already shown us that if we're unwilling to do it at the local government, they're going to intercede, and the outcomes of their policies of people who no disrespect to them, but they just are not engaged in land use every week like we are. Well, we saw that those outcomes are way worse for the communities and what those communities worse than want than what we've been doing here on the commission, which is slow, controlled growth. We know that we needed more money for infrastructure. I am very opposed to taxation, and I was one of the advocates for putting the tax renewal forward, because that's just some of the things that we have to do to continue to grow and implement that proper infrastructure. So I'm going to be supporting every single one of these amendments tonight because it's slow, controlled, and managed growth. So I will move for approval on this item, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we got a motion by Commissioner Wostel.
Second.
Transmit CPA 2407, second by Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you very much. I want to add something to what Commissioner Wostel was just saying and address some of the concerns that were raised. If you think back a couple of years, there were considerable problems with water pressure and water delivery in South County. We even had to have a moratorium at one point over construction in certain places until we could get certain emergency measures taken. But the result of all that is that Tampa Bay Water is now making a $400 million plus commitment to a 50-year pipeline to supply the entire region with water. And that is being paid for by ratepayers across Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough County. So we are investing in the water infrastructure in a very significant way. We are also going to be discussing, I believe, at our next county commission meeting, $34.5 million in federal and state grants for septic to sewer conversions in Waimama. And we are also building a new wastewater treatment plant on our One Water campus at the AgMart property that's going to cost in excess of $700 million. In addition to that, the community investment tax that Commissioner Wostel referenced, but that we all supported and worked so hard to pass, includes the money for 9 new fire stations. My recollection, and I may be wrong about this, is that 6 or 7 of them, I believe, are actually programmed to be in South County. So we are making the infrastructure investments, and you know, it would be irresponsible if we didn't have development. We know that the county is growing. We know that we're pressed. We know that we're trying to encourage growth outside of the coastal high hazard area. When we're putting this type of investment in, and oh, and by the way, there's also the 5% of the CIT that's going to the school district, and almost all those schools are being built in South County. So we are moving toward putting our money where our mouth is in terms of this development. And I think it would be irresponsible, given some of the commitments that we've already made, if we didn't follow through. So I'm in agreement with what you're saying.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. I am opposed to this. I think that this is a responsible, slow, managed growth. I still think this is a incredible, blistering pace of growth that has not been very intentional or deliberate. I know Commissioner Cohen that we have dealt somewhat with the water so that people don't get stuck in their showers, you know, where they can't finish the shower or they can't get water from their taps. That looks like it will be better in the near future. But there are just so many problems with this. I want to ask staff on this first B1, B2, exactly how many acres and how many possible units of development are being allowed by this one set of changes.
Yes, Alexis Myers, Planning Commission. So it is on, or for the text amendment, it's on 575 acres. And then for the map amendment, it's going to be on 408 acres. I did not print out my staff report, so I'm not sure on the number of, or if Melissa can,
I can help you with that. So 408 acres for the Res 4?
yes.
So that would be 1,632 dwelling units.
And then how about the 575?
Well, that would be for the text amendment to bring that into the urban service area, so the calculations are done for just the map amendment.
Okay, that's what, so it's 1,630 4 more units, did you say? 30?
I already deleted it, but something like that, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, for this one place, and we're looking at others, and we're looking at all the development that's already has been approved there, when people are suffering terribly, as they've said tonight already, with the lack of 911 services. And thank you to Sun City for their volunteer, ambulance services. I don't know what we'd do without those, and I didn't know there were sometimes 40-minute waits. The traffic is horrendous by all accounts, and I pushed every single one of those impact fee improvements that happened, from fire to parks to roads to schools, which hadn't been updated in 40 years, to sewer, wastewater, and they're improved. But first of all, we have a lack of infrastructure that is billions, literally billions, that already, without adding this new need to it, is there. The CIT will be a drop in the bucket. I think everything is being put into needs that we already have, not even looking at these. And the other thing is, when you move the urban service line out to cover the rural area, before the rural area has this development in it, you're lowering their impact fees. They're going to be charged urban service impact fees as if the urban service infrastructure is already in place, and it's not. So that is meaning they're going to be charged less. And we're putting in this one development 1,600 new homes, single-family homes units, and this is a massive, blistering case of growth. And I want to thank the residents. They just brought up such good things. I'm sorry that that they changed the date of this and pushed it up on you all, so you couldn't really get prepared as you should have been able to for this presentation, for this vote. But it's really, this commission should be listening at least a little bit to the fact that 1,600 residents signed a petition. And I have to say, those flooding images and what we have been hit by with Debbie, Helene, and Milton, I think there is really very much need for us to reassess the infrastructure in terms of flooding and water and storm water and what is going on there. So I just think this is too much at one time without the consideration to do measured, intentional, deliberate growth, to also have the kinds of mixed use, as was said, with commercial in place to work on the trip capture. Also, I heard in the beginning, we're going to be eliminating community benefits. It's there's just a lot of loss, and it's for the members of the community down there. And I will be not supporting this. I'll be the no vote. But it is, I think it's to have done all these at once and be looking at the massive impact of this, bigger than building a new Temple Terrace when you get to all of them, or at least the ones I had seen before that were listed and proposed, is a real problem. And I don't think we should be, I think we should be more deliberate and careful. And saying something like, well, the state will just take it over and do it. Okay, so maybe then we shouldn't be irresponsible and let the state do that. But right now, thought that what they were doing with Live Local, and I've even heard that they're backing down on that. But we should take a really responsible, thoughtful approach to this, and I'm really, really concerned about the new issues of flooding and what's going on with that. So I thank the citizens for coming down. I'll be a no vote.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Wostel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on CPA 2407.
No.
Motion carried, 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, now we need a motion, transmit CPA 2319.
So moved.
Motion Commissioner
Second.
Wostel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried, 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, B3 and B4.
Yes, sir. These items will also be presented by Ms. Alexis Myers. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff, here to present HCCPA 2409, located at Safford Road and County Road 579 for the Urban Service Area Extension. This is a privately initiated text amendment that are to expand the urban service area boundary on 638.77 acres. It is associated with the map amendment HCCPA 2408, which I will present right after. Here's the area of the site for the text amendment. The subject site is outlined in yellow, and the blue line indicates the existing urban service area boundary. The site is located west of County Road 579 and north of Safford Road. Current adopted policy direction in the future land use element is to direct new growth into the urban service area. At least 80% of the population growth will occur in the horizon of the plan. Development in the urban service area is typically 4 dwelling units per gross acre or higher and has urban infrastructure such as water and sewer. The comprehensive plan update identified the need to expand the urban service area to accommodate future population growth. The site is within the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category, which allows 2 dwelling units per gross acre, which is higher than typical rural densities. Development in the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category also must meet certain requirements, such as connecting to water and sewer and community benefits. As far as impacts, the amendment will bring 638.77 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connecting to public water and sewer. Planning Commission received no objections for this text amendment. We did receive comments from the following agencies: the Environmental Protection Commission, the Conservation and Environmental Lands Management, Community and Infrastructure Planning, and the Water Resources Department. Next is the consistency review. The proposed amendment is consistent with the following objectives and policies in the future land use element and livable community element of the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And now I will go on to the map amendment for HCCPA 2409, which is HCCPA 2408, Safford Road and County Road 579. As I mentioned, this is a privately initiated map amendment that is large in scale and approximately 638.77 acres. Currently, the future land use designation is Waimama Village Residential 2, and the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation to Residential 4. This is a general location map. The amendment is in the rural service area. The amendment is also within the limits of the Waimama Village and South Shore Area-Wide Systems community plans. It is located west of County Road 579 and north of Safford Road. This is the area of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the urban service area boundary. The site currently has agricultural and single-family uses. The site also has wetlands, significant wildlife, and is in the FEMA flood zone AE. There are agricultural uses to the east, west, and south, and single-family uses are to the southwest. Now we'll show some pictures. This is looking towards the subject site from Safford Road. This is looking west of the subject site from Safford Road as well. Here's looking east from County Road 579. Residential developments are to the west. and this is looking southwest of the subject site from Southwood Road. Currently, the future land use designation of the site is Waimama Village Residential 2. Other future land use designations shown in this map include natural preservation to the east and south, and residential 4 and residential 6, which are just within the urban service area to the north. Again, the applicant is proposing to change the future land use designation to residential 4. Next, we have some impacts. Overall, the proposed amendment will result in an increase in density and introduce suburban scale commercial and residential uses to a predominantly agricultural area while also eliminating community benefits. We have some agency comments. The proposed amendment received no objections. No objections from the following agencies. Next is the consistency review. The proposed amendment is consistent with the following objectives and policies in the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. It is also consistent with the goals and strategies of the South Shore area-wide systems and Waimama Village community plans of the livable communities element of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this concludes my presentation for the text amendment and map amendment HECPA 09 and HECPA 2409 and HECPA 2408. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Good evening.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson. Just want to put this map up that Mr. Malloy put up during his presentation. Staff has characterized this area as predominantly agricultural. I respectfully disagree with that characterization. What you see on this map, all the purple are properties that are already approved for development at least the 2 units to the acre and 4 units to the acre in the north. So this is predominantly suburban residential. And so what we're seeking to do is go from 2 units to the acre to 4 units to the acre to be efficient with our infrastructure. And respectfully to those that spoke about this being premature, when I first started practicing in Hillsborough County, it was 2007. It was the last update to the comp plan. People said it was premature then to expand the urban service boundary. 2011, it was premature to expand the urban service boundary. 2017, yet another study, it was premature to expand the urban service boundary, but to do so in 5 years was the direction of ULI. We're now beyond that. Your plan horizon is 2025. You recognize in your plan update that it is time to update the urban service boundary, and this is the next logical place to do that, and we would respectfully request your approval.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak to this item?
You guys are going to know me very well, I guess, by the end of the night. Thank you. So I want to just touch on something that was previously stated by Commissioner Westall. Sean Das again. I am a resident of Waimama. I specifically live in the corridor, the area that is currently being spoken about. A lot of the images that you saw was right from our area, Saffold and Dug Creek Road, for example, with the Home Depot truck, Lake Parish Dam, River Ranch Preserve. River Road is just south of us on the other side of Little Manatee River, right? 579, we've got 2 pictures there. Now, I've been in the area since 2016, specifically Waimama. The flooding has happened since Irma onward. You can count how many storms we've had since Hurricane Irma. We've had floodings consistent at Saffold Road and Dug Creek Road, consistent with what you see with that Home Depot truck. And recent years, with Berry Bay being developed, it's gotten worse. It's risen. Because Berry Bay empties into Dug Creek converges with Little Manatee River, and we have that watershed that is filling up in the area. I want to bring your attention to something. As I mentioned previously, FEMA's last flood map for Saffold Road 579 corridor was last updated in 2008. This is public information on their website, right? So we're dealing with data from 2008, at least from what we can see. This outdated data cannot be relied on for safe, sustainable growth. Our Stormwater Technical Manual still includes scanned pages from a 1990 ADA, American Disabilities Act, an outdated reference that symbolizes the lack of current, actionable information. The last revision to the ADA was in 2008. Why do we not have that updated in the Stormwater Technical Manual? Okay. When it comes to SWIFMUD, their guidelines require stormwater infrastructure to be built to a 25-year event standard. This year alone, we've seen 300-year events. A 1 in 25-year standard is not going to cut it anymore. We need the engineering to support the development. Engineering infrastructure goes beyond utilities. All I'm hearing tonight is utilities. I'm not hearing anything about expansion of the watershed or Doug Creek to allow for more volume. Control flow rates going into Doug Creek, control flow rates going into Little Manatee River and going out to the bay. I'm only hearing about utilities, money that the county is getting, okay? I personally experienced the impact of this shortfall. In our neighborhood, a builder's failure to properly use silt fencing during construction compromised the stormwater infrastructure, turning a home of 36 homes with no drainage issues into one where over 114 homes experienced blocked swales, culverts, and failing water control structures. SWIFMUD was involved, but ultimately allowed the recertification to proceed, despite documented problems calling into question the agency's commitment and accountability.
Thank you, sir.
Could you restate your name for the record, please?
Sean Das.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker.
Good evening again. It's Augie Grace, Valencia Lakes, Waimama. I mentioned earlier that we were told that these items, which were originally scheduled for September 26th, were going to be December 12th. The CPACs takes very seriously the work that we do and working on developing community benefits for all of Waimama. And so we had planned meetings with all the neighborhood groups in Waimama. Unfortunately, we found out that all of these items were on the agenda for November 12th, for tonight, November 7th. And so we had to accelerate getting the word out to people. So we did that by having a meeting with the residents of Waimama in Valencia Lakes, and that's why 95% of the comments that you saw came from residents of Valencia Lakes. I live in Valencia Lakes. I consider myself a resident of Waimama. I go to meetings in Waimama all the time. It takes me leaving my house to go to, for instance, Bethune Park. If I go to a meeting that's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, it takes me 30 minutes leaving my home to get on 301 and to travel on 674. So I think the issues that we're raising are very serious here. We think that we need to look at the complexity of these issues. And we appreciate Commissioner Miller's directive for the Department of Public Works to look at trying to do a study on some of the issues that we're raising here. But unfortunately, we haven't heard anything else about the study, and I don't know if the study has been completed or not. But I think that's, again, an example of we should be taking these votes after we've gathered that information, after we've looked at what the impact is on the infrastructure, after we looked at what the impact is on traffic, on the school systems, on the schools that are overburdened. If you look at the applicants' reports, you'll see that all of the schools are near capacity, and with these new developments coming online, they'll be going over capacity. So we think there is a very serious need that needs to be looked at, and we urge a no vote on these items. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Al Bruner again, Northern Waimama. Again, reiterate what my former citizens and comrades in this fight are. But I want to specifically address the person speaking on behalf of their client, talking about the urban service area expansion, and it was wrong in 2008 and 2011, 2017. Okay, great. Where's the infrastructure? Where's the emergency response going in ahead of it? Where are the roads going in on ahead of it? You're putting these communities, urban communities in these rural areas that have 2-lane roads. Do you absolutely have any absolute idea how crowded it is? Do you understand how many accidents we are now having on these very roads? I don't think you do, because you don't live it. You do it from down here. Occasionally, we get some of you to come out. Commissioner Owen said he was going to come out, didn't show up. Then he vacated office. I do appreciate Commissioner Miller coming out. She came out for one of our events at the Balm Community Park. But again, I illustrate this infrastructure with every expansion. Where's that infrastructure? Why isn't it preceding this development? So we're not creating dangerous situations. We're not creating environments where people are trying to bike for exercise that are on roads that have no shoulder. I'm all about biking. I love to bike, but those roads are dangerous, and we have bikers on them that have trucks, lots of dump trucks, lots of trucks hauling stuff to build these homes. Somebody is going to die, and blood is going to be on somebody's hands because we're pushing that environment. Now they're just asking to go from R2 to R4. When nobody's watching, they're going to come in, they're going to ask for it to go from R4 to R6 or R8. How many times do we allow these developments, planned developments, to come in and constantly be changed and constantly be added to with major mods, minor mods? That's another big problem. Also, as was highlighted, expanding the urban service area also lowers impact fees. We don't need lower impact fees. We don't have enough. And I'll tell you, citizens are tired of problems being created by others and then told that we have to pay to correct it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak to this item?
Buddy Harwell, Balm, Florida. Want to hit on the flooding issues since it was brought up last time. In the Balm area, in the last couple of years, we've had some flooding issues since the Balm Grove has been built, developed, still developing on one side, still on the other side. And Mr. Hills stood in our civic association while he was before this was approved, and told us that his developments don't flood. He's right, but everyone else around him does. So when is that taken care of? We actually, they rerouted Balm Waimama Road into Shelley Lane, and then it goes out to 672. They dug that road down 5 feet from the original grade. Since June, July, first of summer, since the rain started coming, that intersection will hold water up to 2 feet. Nothing was ever done until we started calling. So you know what the fix was? They put a mud pump there, put it down in the storm drain, and pumps it out on their property whenever they feel like starting it. And then you have to call the county again. I have numerous pictures of that intersection underwater and people getting flooded out. And the county guy said, well, we called them and they said they took care of the problem. Well, we're 5 months, and that's the solution, to put a pump there to pump it out. So it's not only while it's after the building, it's during the building too, because they're not even done there, and you're still allowing them to do that. We've called EPC multiple times because the dust mitigation isn't being done. And let's go with the water issue. I'm glad you brought that up. At the Tampa Bay meeting last time, y'all said, how many pumps did we lose, generators? We were in a drought. We were restricting water flow. We finally got water, but it took a damn hurricane to get it. but they said it was a success. How is it a success if we lost generators, some pump stations and stuff, and citizens was without water for 2 or 3 days? Mr. Wasser, you're in the military. You know we were supposed to have redundancy and backup and redundancy. That was a failure. You failed the citizens again. We got to get this corrected, people. We're tired of it.
Next speaker. Good evening.
James Franklin, beautiful downtown bomb. It's going to be tough following him. The first thing I want to talk about is you go on about the sewer and the water. That's all for the new development. The old people got their wells and their septic tanks. They don't need any of this. Now, to start with, you know, we complain about the traffic out there, and it gets worse every day, of course. There's nobody here that lives there and travels here like we have to. It's a mess. Please fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak to this item? If not, can we have a motion for CPA 2409?
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Wostel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Kemp.
Again, I'll just reiterate, I will be a no vote on these. And for the same reasons, I just think we are not paying attention to what has been brought to us about the stormwater situations, the flooding. And prior to any approval of this, I believe we should have to have a update of the FEMA and stormwater plan. In fact, after this, I'd like to make a motion. Well, actually, I'd like to ask us to do a no on this. And, you know, we can always add more development later. But to do it on all this agricultural land where there has been this tremendous flooding, where we still don't have the schools, don't have the fire stations, I do not believe we're going to have the resources to do that, plus the infrastructure we already need. And as I mean, when I got on the board, I was just kind of shocked that Sumner High School was built on this 2-lane road, and I was like, couldn't even believe that that was the kind of planning that was done. But again, I think this is just more of the same kind of very irresponsible, poor growth management. And, you know, we don't have to do this blistering pace of growth and approval, you know, without infrastructure already in place. I've said before, we're moving the line. If we move the line, we then lower the impact fees, but this is still agricultural lands without the infrastructure in place. So I just think all around we're doing a disservice to the residents that live there and to the new residents that may live there in the future. This is not what we do careful, responsible, intentional, deliberate planning. And I do think we need water consideration of, you know, a water plan. It's just kind of amazing to me that our last update from FEMA was 2008 with the 25-year standard, when we are going, I believe, to start having more of the kinds of storms that, like Milton, that are coming more frequently. And we certainly had a, how could we have like a more, you know, serious warning than we just had in the last month? I don't know. So I will be voting no to this. I would urge others to slow down. You don't have to do this much. And I'll say too, just in the last item, we had a lot of extra acreage there that I realized they didn't put the houses on, but you know, again, just as was said, those homes will be added later. So that'll be another, you know, 680 homes there. It's just not the way that we should move forward and be doing responsible planning and growth.
Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
Yes, my concern is for the traffic. Are you, to the applicant, are you planning to use the full 638 acres for all Res 4 to the maximum, which would be over 2,000
This is Cami Corbett again. This is just the long-range plan. This is up to 4 units to the acre. We have to still go through a zoning. We have to go through all of our designs. So very typically in Res 4, we're not yielding 4 units to the acre, but what we actually yield will be based on how that all lays out. But because these properties all have existing planned developments, there are already transportation improvements that the developers are already required to do that are already going to happen with or without this plan amendment. And with this plan amendment and the subsequent rezonings that come, you'll have another opportunity to look at whether there are roadway infrastructure improvements. It's not appropriate at this time to talk to that level, but you will have a time in the future. So we're still talking about 4 or 5 years before you're seeing the actual impact. You have to get the plan amendment first, the zoning, the construction plan. So there's a lot of time to work through those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wilston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to address the flooding claims. It's going to be extremely difficult for Commissioner Miller's item even to be correctly ascertained because Tampa Bay Water actually did not, Commissioner Cohen, you'll recall this, we did not gain our water back from the hurricanes. We actually, after 13 months of deficits, got huge record rain, and we recouped over 6 billion gallons of water in 28 days that we were behind on for 13 months. We got that before the storms, and I hope whoever's running the engineering, if you're listening, the engineering study, that you include that in the report because it's a huge variable. And then we got the tropical storm, and then we got 2 major water events. So I just want to remind everybody that Florida, at one point during the middle of the Jurassic period, went underwater. And then through the entire Cretaceous period for over 100 million years, we were completely submerged, including Alabama and Georgia. And then after that, the last glacial period, Florida used to be twice its size. And then after that, the Cenozoic period, Florida went back underwater, which is why we have thousands of feet of limestone underneath our feet where we stand right now. It's very complicated. So then on top of that, North Carolina mountains got flooded from this same storm. So what are we going to say, that we're not building anywhere? Is that what my colleague that is unfortunately not here is suggesting? It doesn't make sense. We have an obligation under state law to manage our growth. I have called the leaders of the farm organizations in Hillsborough County. They understand and they support these measures. I am down in Waimama all the time, including my tours of my own friend's farm that got devastated down there from these storms, resulting in millions of dollars of damages. It's Valencia Lakes. I'm down there so much that these same farmers that have been there for over a century pointed out to me that Valencia Lakes was a pickle farm. It was a cucumber farm before it was homes. I think I live on a cattle farm. My friends live on citrus farms up in the Northwest area. It's just a symptom of growth, and we are ensuring that our impact fees are adjusted to appropriate levels. It's already been pointed out by my colleague. So if the continued conversation is about flooding, well, then I guess that what we're saying is that everyone should move, because there is potentially a situation where the entire state of Florida eventually becomes completely engulfed in water again. It's very complicated, and I do support this item.
I got a motion by Commissioner Wilstel,
I
second Commissioner
have
Myers.
just one more comment.
Okay, Commissioner Kemp.
I just had a question because I forgot to ask of staff if they could say how many units are allowed by this development?
Hi, yes, this is Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. 2,555 dwelling units are
Okay.
permitted.
Thanks, 2,552. And I just wanted to just state for the record that there's no growth. This is doing careful, deliberate, intentional growth, doing true growth management, not just throwing down 10,000 units, approving that at this meeting tonight, 10,000, 12,000, when there's already dire infrastructure needs in the area.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried, 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
We have a motion, transmit CPA 2408.
So moved.
Motion Commissioner Wostel.
Second.
Second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried, 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, B5 and B6.
Yes, sir. Items B5 and B6 will also be presented by Ms. Alexis Myers. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff, here again to present HECPA 2413, located at North Bishop Road and County Road 579 for the Urban Service Area Extension. This is a privately initiated text amendment to expand the urban service area boundary on 575 acres. It is associated with the map amendment, HCCPA 2412, which I will present right after. This is the area of the site for the text amendment. The subject site is outlined in yellow, and the blue line indicates the existing urban service area boundary. The site is located east of Bishop Road, north of County Road 579, and south of State Road 674. Okay, just here's some info on the urban service area expansion of the WVR2, the Waimama Village Residential 2, and the and the RP2 future land use category. Directs new growth into the urban service area. At least 80% of the population growth will occur in the horizon of the plan. Development in the urban service area is typically 4 dwelling units per gross acre or higher and has urban infrastructure such as water and sewer. The comprehensive plan identified the need to expand the urban service area to accommodate future population growth. As I mentioned, the site is within the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category, which allows 2 dwelling units per gross acre, which is higher than typical rural densities. Development in the Waimama Village Residential 2 future land use category must also meet certain requirements, such as connecting to water and sewer and community benefits. As far as impacts, the amendment will bring 505 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connecting to public water and sewer. Planning Commission staff received no objections from the for this text amendment. We did receive comments from the following agencies. The proposed amendment is also consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And now I will go on to the map amendment for HCCPA 2413, which is HCCPA 2412, located at North Bishop Road and County Road 579. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is large in scale and approximately 505 acres. Currently, the future land use designations of the site are Waimama Village Residential 2 and Natural Preservation, and the applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation to Residential 4. Here is the general location map. This amendment is in the rural service area. This amendment is also within the limits of the Waimama Village and South Shore Area-Wide Systems community plans. It is located east of Bishop Road, north of County Road 579, and south of State Road 674. This is the area of the site. Site is outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the urban service area boundary. There's agriculture on the site as well as to the south. The site also has wetlands, significant wildlife, and is in the FEMA flood zone AE. There are also single-family uses to the west. Again, I have some pictures. This is looking northeast towards the subject site. Bishop Road is out of frame to the left. This is looking north towards the subject site from Bishop Road. Here's a photo looking south of the subject site. And then we have one looking towards the subject site from Bishop Road as well. Currently, the future land use designation of the site is Waimama Village Residential 2 and Natural Preservation. Other future land use designations shown on this map include Residential 4 and Residential 6, which are just within the urban service area to the north. Again, the applicant is proposing to change the future land use designation to Residential 4. Next, we have the impacts. Overall, the proposed amendment will result in an increase in density and introduce suburban scale commercial and residential uses to a predominantly agricultural area while also eliminating community benefits. We also have some HC comments. The proposed amendment received no objections from the following agencies. The next two slides are in regards to the consistency review. The proposed request is consistent with the following objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. It is also consistent with the South Shore area-wide systems and Waimama Village community plans, which is outlined in the livable community element of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And this concludes my presentation for the text amendment and map amendment HTCPA 2413 and 2412. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Cami Corbett with Hill, Ward, and Henderson again. Just wanted to correct one point on the impact fees. It's been said several times that the impact fees will be lower if you approve these amendments. The only fee that's different between the urban and rural area is the transportation impact fee. The transportation impact fee was artificially raised in the rural area several years ago on the basis or premise that the roads in the rural service area operate at a higher level of service. Yet, ironically, those same policymakers that have raised those fees also opted to not put any transportation improvements in the rural area, so those monies are sitting unspent. So the reality is the more units that there are across the board, the more impact fees there will be available for fire and for utilities and parks and transportation overall. So I just wanted to make that correction on the record. And again, we're here to answer any questions should you have.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone want to speak to this item?
Yes, I'm Augie Grace from Waimama. I just want to put into context here the cumulative effect that we're looking at with these four proposals. So we're looking at four proposals that are for developments going to bringing into Waimama approximately 8,413 homes. The cars that are being estimated for those homes, 16,826. I think in some ways we look at each of these developments and we look at them as separate developments, but I think when you look at it as a cumulative, it really it's shocking the amount of growth that we're experiencing all in one time. There's been a lot of talk about traffic, and there was discussion by council that, you know, this is just the first step. This is the broad overlay, and that, you know, it still has to go through zoning and still has to go through all these other steps. Well, we hope that we're going to be here with you to go and look at all these mitigations that we keep hearing that are going to occur. Because when I look at these developments, when I look at Bishop Road, only access to Bishop Road on this end of 301 is a single lane, and it's a single lane on 301 and Westlake. When I look at access to Safford Road, it's 301, a single lane, and County Road 579, a single lane road. Access to North Bishop, either 674, a single lane, and County Road 579, a single lane. Access to West Lake Drive, single lane Bill Tucker Road, or single lane 674. So when we hear about there's going to be all these great traffic mitigation measures, well, we're looking forward to seeing them, because we're going to actually need them to be able to handle the changes that we're having with 8,400 new homes being built in Waimama. I want to look once more at the the flooding issue. There's been a lot of talk about the flooding issue. And I think the flooding issue is a complex issue. And it's complex, I think, because there's so many different players that would be involved in trying to solve the issue. And so the players are, Manatee County, so now we're talking about 2 different counties. The players are Swift Mud, the players are FEMA, the players are the different departments in Hillsborough. What we were asking for, and obviously we're not getting what we're asking for in any of these votes.
Thank you, sir.
Is a pause. All we're asking for is a pause.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Hi, Sean Dass again with Waimama. I actually live in the Lake Tiscana River Ranch Preserve neighborhood. To kind of illustrate where I live is across from Austin Farms on Saffold Road or off of Saffold Road, right at the V at Saffold and 579, right? Commissioner Wastall, you brought up about the significant rains that we experienced this year. I think your data may be a little bit off because for our local area, we do have on social media someone that posts the recordings every morning. We were actually below the average rainfall up until Debbie occurred. Debbie happened and it dumped 18 inches of rain within 24 hours in our area. Okay, that's a lot of rain. As you can see from the pictures that were presented earlier, that is what contributed to the significant flooding. Now, coming back to a statement that was said earlier by another resident, specifically in Baum, Mr. Hills mentioned that his developments don't flood. Well, I live across the street from Berry Bay, Eisenhower Property Group. That is a development of Eisenhower Property Group. That flooded during Debbie. It also flooded during Milton. So for him to make that statement, how often is he visiting his developments, or is he being truthful about it? Okay. So I want to ask, to those in engineering positions and the Board of County Commissioners, your responsibilities are to ensure public safety and resilient development, not to bow to development interests and the cost of residents' homes and security. Storms are more frequent, intensifying, and we can no longer rely on outdated infrastructure or disjointed policies to protect our neighborhoods. So I ask each of you, how will you push in those planning stages, those 3 to 5 years, for SwiftMud to evaluate watershed's impact cumulatively rather than piecemeal, considering the runoff from all surrounding communities? Okay. What actions will you take to ensure that county-owned stormwater infrastructure is properly maintained? So if you frequent South County and go to the South Shore Library, if you see 19th, those culverts are not maintained. Commissioner Wastall, I think you brought up the dead fish in a prior hearing as well, right? Draining, blocking the culverts. That's not the case. It's lack of maintenance, right? And I encourage you to visit around South Shore Library and look at all of those culverts there, okay? Finally, how will you hold SwiftMud accountable for upholding the standards of integrity that our communities deserve? Because right now, even with the recertification process, and I think a lot of associations are not aware that they are on the hook for that as well. How is SwiftMud going to hold them accountable, thereby not affecting their neighbors? Because right now, we have problems in our community, and it passed recertification. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Al Bruner again, in northern Waimama and Baum area. I echo the concerns of my fellow citizens and residents in this area that have to live through this nonsense each day, every day, all day. To talk about the flooding, that is a hot topic given our recent storms for this year alone. Constantly, I'm told that my opinion really doesn't matter because I don't have some fancy acronym behind my name, but I work as a senior systems engineer. I work in cybersecurity, so I deal a lot with things that I can't see, touch, and feel, and then figure them out with disparate pieces of information, cumulatively, orders of effect, additive especially. So for the engineering and the flooding, doggone, build it up. You're not building up enough because it is flooding under your current engineering. And those are the paid professionals. So build it up better. build it up stronger. I'm not intending to stop development. I want smart development, and one that doesn't come in explosively and leave me with the bill that I have to pay on my back and the residents that have limited incomes. On the theme of hurricane and evacuations and shelters, we barely got touched. Yes, Milton hit us, but it did not hit us in the worst possible way and under the worst possible conditions. We got lucky, and it only came in 30, 40 miles away from that worst possibility. Our hurricane evac routes, substandard roads. Again, we have a very high population, 3.4 million in the greater Tampa Bay area. Our roads can't handle that mass evacuation if we really truly get hit in the worst possible way. Along that with hurricane shelters, do we have the capacity to handle the increased population? We talk constantly about moving the urban service area because we got growth, we got growth, we got growth. Well, we're not going up. We have water limitations. We're working on that, got it. But we're doing the one thing in Florida that we can't do anywhere else. We're covering over all of our growable agricultural land that I've heard from previous attorneys that said it's too valuable to be ag land. Well, for every house that you come in, you've got, on average, 4 people per house eating 3 meals a day. Where's that food coming from? Where's that food security that now has to come from Florida, cost more, and they have to go and get bigger? So we need more, we need better. And as far as the state, well, then let's fight them. Let's get them to change. Don't be afraid of fighting the state. Let's change it. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ted Canty again. I met with Commissioner Miller. She was gracious enough to come down after the storm. And I just wanted to reiterate something that was brought up by my fellow citizens and that Mr. Wastel, Commissioner Wastel mentioned that might have been overlooked, that she requested that the Department of Public Works and the Development Services produce an impact fee. My question is to all of you, I'll take it offline, was that fee, was that impact survey presented to you? And did it not sway anybody's opinion that these problems that we're bringing up are real? Last point, if you're down in that area, good luck going to the 2 hospitals that service the area for the emergency room. I went in and after triage 18 months ago for a blood clot in my leg, I was number 47. Number 47. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening. Buddy Harwell, Baum. I want to touch on the water situation again. We talked about that we got a plan in place that we're building the water treatment plants and stuff like that. It's supposed to be done 2028. Are we going to have reserve by then? How's that going to help the citizens now and the growth that you're allowing now? A slow and controlled growth, are you going to only allow so many houses per so many gallons or million gallons that we allow each year? Is that what we're talking about? What happens in 2028? Now we're going to need another probably 40, 50 million gallons. Are we looking into that yet? The flooding issue, it took Mother Nature, what, 100 million years to flood Florida? It took Jeff Hills 5 years to flood Baum in Waimama. What happened? You introduced man into the equation, and that's all it takes to screw up anything. There's a comment in there about the commercial. The new rezoning is going to allow commercial to come in and help us. We had commercial in RP2 and WVR2, but y'all keep voting it out. They come in here all the time asking for a waiver to do away with the commercial, and y'all voted it out in Hawkstone, in the Balm Grove just last year. But now they're holding the commercial proverbial carrot in front of us again, say this is going to be good for the area. I just don't understand. Thank you.
Next speaker.
James Franklin Baum. This is going to be short and sweet. We have all these commissioners here, and we only have one commissioner that seems like she cares about the residents in that area. Everybody else just votes the new development in. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion for CPA 24-13?
So moved.
Motion Commissioner Wostel,
Second.
second Commissioner Myers. I don't see anyone in the queue. Please record your vote.
I'd like to speak.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry about that. I had my hand up, but I was just trying. I'll just say again, it was said, we need resilient development, and that's not what this is. And I heard, and this is the thing, it's shocking. All this growth at one time. Nobody's saying no growth at all. But this is just stunning how much is being allowed tonight or in the near future. And this, once you do, as you all know, once you do these future land changes, the comprehensive plan amendment, but once you do the future land change, that's it. They're going to come in and get whatever they want. And let me ask this again about this one. So how many units again is this set of amendments?
Yes, Alexis Myers Planning Commission. Yes, for the 505 acres, it can permit 2,020 dwelling units.
2,020 dwelling units. This is just, this, I just don't think you all can conceive or are conceiving or thinking about what all of this means at one time. It's stunning. And it was said before that in all we're looking at 8,400 units tonight, which if you do 3 people to a unit, which is they're looking at, I know somebody said 4, it could be 4, but if you do 3, we're looking at 25,000 more people. That's another Temple Terrace, just on the outskirts here, another whole city of Temple Terrace, just on these outposts without the infrastructure and development in place. It's really stunning. You know, I think the citizens have shown and have learned much more and live it about what the infrastructure issues there are, just with everything, schools, flooding, emergency, fire, all of that. And I thank them for coming and just, trying so hard to educate the board. It seems like we should incorporate them. And this is the kind of thorough presentation that the board should expect and have with regards to all of these challenges, especially when we're going and approving future land growth, which is really the key to doing this. And to approve this much, all these developments at once, and I think it's just stunning. The scope is massive, and it just shouldn't be done. So I won't be approving it, but I do want to thank the citizens for, being so compelling and doing so much work and trying to bring the board around on this, to realize what is being done here. Because this, I just don't see this as being responsible and taking the lead as the Board of County Commissioners should.
Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you. Just, Mr. Grady, it might be helpful for the speakers if we get them the impact fees that will clearly demonstrate what they've been raised to, that they calculate now properly, fire, rescue, the schools. I think there's like 6 or 7 schools that are going into the area to alleviate Sumner. I think that'd be helpful information for everybody to see that, that unfortunately, since that this isn't a rezone, that's what I was confirming when I got up, you don't get to see the total amount of impact fees, which will be significant. And that these numbers that are being proposed are maximums, but they don't account for wetlands. I mean, we have pretty serious, way more than like any other county in the state of Florida. We have pretty serious stormwater, wetlands, and engineering requirements compared to many of the counties, maybe more than any other county in the entire state of Florida. So maybe we can find a way to clearly demonstrate what is going to be required of these. I know that we can't show it because there has to be a rezone, and you would just be working off of pure hypotheticals, but maybe at least they can see the fees. So thank you.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you. I just want to address Mr. Harwell's question about the Tampa Bay water investment. The problems that we had in South County related to water availability and pressure caused Tampa Bay Water and Hillsborough County to take short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. And what I was referring to earlier as the long-term measure is this major water pipeline project that will come online in 2028. But in fact, there have been a lot of things that have already been done and are continuing to be done for the short and medium term to get us to 2028. When we get to 2028 and this pipeline comes online, it's a 50-year solution to our water needs. But it will accommodate our growth for the next 50 years. But to get there, we had to enhance the Brandon Booster Station. We had to put in some temporary pumps in order to increase our capacity, and we were able to do it enough so that it will supply us with what we need until we get to that magic point in 2028. The things that we're talking about now, this is a transmittal hearing. It's got to come back to us for adoption, and then every single one of these has to go through a rezoning process where a lot of the individual aspects of the various developments have to be discussed and the details have to be fleshed out. But by the time this stuff comes online, what I'm saying is that, and I'm not talking here now about the flooding issue. I'm talking about fresh water and the capacity to provide highly pressurized, potable drinking water and irrigation water to our customers. That is something that we have already made the investment in and we have already committed ourselves to, and the construction is literally happening as we speak. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. The One Water campus that we're developing at the AgMart property, that includes a $700 million investment in a new wastewater treatment facility. So, and just to reiterate, because it came up again, in terms of response and 911 service, the commitment that we made to the community when we asked them to pass the community investment tax is that we were going to program 9 additional fire stations, and that's in addition to the ones that we're replacing and redoing, and that's in addition to the equipment that we're buying. 9 new fire stations, and I want to make sure I'm exact, but I believe at least 6 or 7 of them were in the South County envelope. So again, a major investment in future infrastructure in this exact region. Not to mention that we're going to be talking about a Waimama septic to sewer program that's basically funded with grants from the federal and state government in the next couple of weeks.
All right, please record your vote. CPA 24-13.
No.
Commissioner Cameron Cicada. Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, can we have a motion for CPA 24-12? Motion, Commissioner Wollstone. Second, Commissioner Myers. All right, please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, our last 2 items.
Yes, sir. The last 2 items will be presented by Mr. Jay Collins.
All right, as I fumble through I'll tell you what, let you have at that for a second. Yeah, good evening, everybody. Jay Collins, Planning Commission staff. This is a transmittal item for your last 2. Basically, what we're going to do, We're going to travel up 579. We're going to take a left onto 674. We're going to travel down 674, and we're 10 and 11. I'm sorry. B6, B7. We're going to travel down 674. We're going to take a right onto Westlake Drive, and you're going to find us right there on, there we go. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. And you'll find us. So again, this is privately initiated. This is, again, for an expansion of the urban service boundary. This is located, I think it jumped into it. No, it didn't. Okay. This is currently this is located on Westlake Drive, north of Sun City Center, State Road 674, south of Baum Road, State Road 672, and west of the Baum Waimama Road. You're basically right across the street from Valencia Lakes. These are some of the photos that we actually have of the site here. You can actually see this is not. Yeah, I was going to say this is not us. Yeah, I was looking at that going, this is not what we have. I'm so sorry, board. 1 second for us.
Well, you did a great job. We were believing you.
Yeah. The applicant, though, I don't know if they're all that excited about it. Yeah, this is it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So again, let me jump into it. We know where we are. We're talking about a privately initiated text amendment to expand the urban service boundary on 541 acres. This is the site. We just went through that. And again, this is the same thing that we've seen before from some of the other presentations tonight, again, to direct growth within the urban service area. 80% of that population growth will occur within the plan, the horizon there. The development in the urban service area is typically 4 units to the acre or higher with that urban infrastructure we've talked about with water and sewer. The plan has updated the need to expand the USA to accommodate this future population growth within whether it is this area or the other areas that the board has directed us to study. The site is within the WVR2 and RP2 areas, which allow 2 dwelling units per gross acre, which is higher than a typical areas that you might find within the rural area. And finally, these areas do connect to water and sewer, and there are some community benefits that the community plan speaks of. So again, 541 acres into the urban service area, recurring at a minimum the connection to water and sewer. So again, the agency comments went out. You can see them there, the variety of different county agencies that commented to us. I would like to mention the recurring one that you see from Conservation and Land Environmental Management, talks about some of the ELAP lands. Again, when we come back for the full study, you're going to be able to see there are a lot of ELAP lands. There's a lot of natural preservation down there in this area. Consistency review, the proposed amendment is consistent with the following goals, objectives, and policy of the comprehensive plan, whether it's growth or the urban service area. It's also consistent with the Waimama community plan, also the South Shore area-wide systems plan. And the recommendation for this one is that Planning Commission recommends that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. That ends the text amendment, going on to the land use amendment, which is slightly different. There's a little bit more acreage, being that some of the acreage involved in this amendment, map amendment, is within the urban service boundary today. It is Waimama Village Residential 2 within the urban service boundary. Again, shows you generally where we are. Again, pretty much that same aerial that we had as before. Also, this basically is right across from 19th Avenue, which goes through Valencia Lakes. That does not connect out onto West Lake. This is the site. Basically, we're on the site. We're looking to the north. This is basically looking west of the subject site, standing in the middle of the road of West Lake. This is West Lake. And again, this subject site looking east across at it at the Baum Scrub. Again, that's one of the ELAP properties, natural preservation for the county. This shows you the adopted future land use map that we have today, showing you the Waimama Village Residential in that blue-gray. The green that you have directly to the east is the natural preservation. To the west, you have Valencia Lakes with its residential 4. And to the south, you have in Waimama proper, you have residential 6, as well as office commercial 20 along 674. Shows it with the residential 4. What we have for the impacts for this, again, existing within this area at 2 units to the acre, 1,102 dwelling units. The potential to double that, 2,204 dwelling units. A lot of square footage there for non-residential uses, but again, in Waimama Village Residential 2, commercial uses are not allowed in this particular area. So the only types of non-residential uses you would have in this area, churches, schools, other types of neighborhood support uses. It would introduce the possibility for neighborhood serving commercial uses under residential 4. So again, some of the agency comments, we already spoke about that. Consistency review, the variety of different policies that it's consistent with, including the urban service area and public facilities. Environmental consideration for clustering. Again, under residential 4, you can cluster much in the same way that you can in Waimama Village Residential 2 with some of those issues that we have for the proximity to some of the natural preservation lands. And its recommendations, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is the applicant here?
Commissioners, good evening. Jake Kramer with Stearns Weaver Miller. I'll keep this brief. I know we're past puck drop. The only difference, really the major difference in this project versus the ones you've heard so far is this one's actually a little bit behind. And the reason why is this property is owned by the Aston family, a longtime farming family in Hillsborough County. So they don't have plans to develop right now, but they see what's going on around them. They've read the writing on the wall in South County. And they're simply looking to get the same rights as property owners in their general vicinity. This gives you an idea of where the property is located. We're really nestled between WVR2 and RP2, but because of what I'll show you, this property is not really part of the Baum community or the Waimama community. It's somewhat isolated, as you can see here. What this graphic shows is that the majority of this property is surrounded by conservation. So the Baum Scrub Preserve is to the east, and then the hatched green, that is a private conservation easement. It's a wetland mitigation bank, which means that can never be developed. So with this particular property, it's a great candidate for expansion because it won't have the same potential impacts on existing communities as it otherwise might. It's naturally buffered, in other words. So we had 2 community meetings, and really the consistent feedback we got in those meetings was folks from Valencia said, listen, if you build something here, we want it to look and feel like our community. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're requesting, the exact same thing as that community. So our entire team is here, the landowner's here, if you have any questions, but that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to a final public hearing. Anyone want to speak to this item?
Augie Grace, Waimama, 0 for 3, so I'm finally going to give it one more shot. So I just want to discuss one of the aspects of the decisions that are being made here today. So in December of 2021, this board approved the Waimama Village Plan with the RVR2, which focused on health, equity, resilience, and sustainability. And the intent of the WVR2 was to support private property rights, promote community benefits that protect the rural nature of the community as a whole, and preserve the area's natural, cultural, and physical assets. The urban service area expansion to residential 4 eliminates community benefits that can be developed and provided to the community. So my question is, why should Waimama residents accept more traffic, more school children, more public safety issues without getting any community benefits? The other question is around the public hearing process. So next week, Planning Commission will be having public hearings at Sumner High School. They're doing it both in the evening and on the weekends and virtual. So we commend them for holding these hearings. But what is the purpose of the hearings if we've already permitted 8,000 more units to go through? I guess my question is, after these 8,000 units, are there going to be even more developments that we're going to be considering? And is that what the purpose of those public hearings are, to prepare people for even more units that could be coming online?
Next speaker.
Again, Al Bruner from Northern Waimama and Balm area. For this specific development, if I recollect, and correct me, sir, that's going to have an access to that development that's going to come out to 672, correct? Okay, 672, main trucking route, again, infrastructure. You now have another access point that's now going to have how many homes? A lot. That's going to come out into 672, where we're already having a wide number of accidents. It's still 2 lanes. We're getting a lot of the flow coming down from Hawkstone and all of that development that's happening right there and just north of there. We still don't have the stoplight on Bomboyette Road and now Shelley Lane. When we talked about moving Balm Waimama Road and removing that intersection where you had to go down a couple hundred feet before continuing on to Balm Waimama Road, and we worked with the developer to get it moved over so it would be a straight shot across. The goal of doing that move was to keep Balm Waimama Road as a thoroughfare and not turn it into dead end and straight into that development. And then introduce 2 90-degree turns along with the flooding issues by lowering the road, et cetera. So again, infrastructure concerns. Again, unbalanced development. We're talking about almost 10,000 homes. Every development is coming in 10,000 homes, 2,000 homes, 3,000 homes. Residentials. And if you're lucky, well, we had some commercial area in the Balm Grove until it was allowed for them to keep on building without them advertising for it or doing anything for trip capture, because there's no services for in excess of 6 miles from the Balm area. So balanced community, it works. You can have commercial and some significant business parks and retail, along with an intermix of industrial, that you get the incomes and salaries required to support these without doing overburdening your local infrastructure. This may be just one step in the fight, but we'll be here and we'll fight it at the zoning, we'll fight it at the land use, and we'll fight it in the final permitting. And I will come better armed. Our numbers and support is growing. We are building coalitions and alliances, and our funding's coming. And so I'm going to have an impact. You can hear me and work with me, or we can fight each other. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hi, Sean Dass again, Waimama resident. A couple of things I just want to touch on in regards to everything that was spoken about tonight, right? With the development that's going on, you've heard about the flooding, you've heard about the need for infrastructure. I cannot underscore that the need for infrastructure means stormwater management. right? We're not opposed to development. We are looking for smart, sustainable development, and we're not seeing that with any of these approvals that are going through. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't claim to be an expert in a lot of things, right? But at the state level, the way the comprehensive plan is written is it's so ambiguous such that if we continue to approve these expansions, it's moving the needle or the boundaries further and further out. And that's exactly what we're doing here tonight, because it needs like development surrounding it to be able to further expand. So how are we controlling sprawl? How are we putting the necessary infrastructure in for stormwater management? I am not hearing anything tonight about stormwater management. I'm not. And it doesn't give me confidence at all for the future that the county holds. We still have to go through zoning. We still have to go through permitting. But again, at this juncture, moving this needle or this boundary further out is just going to affect other areas like Baum, other areas of Riverview, and of course, Waimama. Waimama is pretty extensive at this point, right? And we still have a lot of land to go. But I'm not hearing any confidence in the board tonight. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Buddy Harwell, Baum, Florida. Just want to make a comment. Something was said here about a lot of these questions are probably irrelevant to what's going on, which is probably the case, you know, but we don't get to the downtown city that often, so we got to take advantage of it when we're here. The impact fees were brought up. And that's one issue that we have, because we've requested, Baum Grove has 700 some odd homes there. I think there was like $20 million worth of impact fees or something. And we requested before there. I know the Waimama CDC and Waimama has requested where the impact fees being spent. We don't see them. So if we don't see them being spent, it just don't seem like we're getting anything for the sacrifice of the land. So there needs to be a little bit clearer base for y'all the county to allow us to see where they're being spent, how they're being spent, and so we can actually see what's happening. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Cami Corbett with Hill Ward Henderson. Commissioner Wussel, I just wanted to address your comment about the impact fees. As applicants, we were asked to calculate that. I'm not sure why it wasn't in your packet. We had calculated a fiscal impact of both the taxes and the impact fees, but for the 4 applications for Eisenhower, it's $155 million of impact fees and connection fees.
Okay. Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you. I just, Mr. Kramer, I don't actually have a question, but I need you to bring up your slide. There's you have a picture of an overhead of what you're applying for, and there's an important piece of context here, and it goes towards, since we're talking about comprehensive planning, and it's something I think that this board needs to consider, and actually, Ms. Leinhardt and I have had this conversation in the past about how it's not good planning that this has happened, and it comes from commissioners. And while you're bringing it up, I'll just say that, Mr. Hartwell, I 100% agree with you. I'm emphatically against these mobility map systems that they moved towards several years ago. They're very ambiguous. The money can be spent far away from the actual development. I'm a fan of concurrency, and I think that that's something that needs to be addressed. Concurrency, I think, was taken out in like 2008 or something, maybe after that. But I don't like the mobility maps because they're so expansive. The money can be spent way far away from the actual development. So no, it was non-color. Actually, this one's fine. And I'll just, if my colleagues want to look, especially newer ones, I've brought this up in the past. These dotted red lines that are actually an exit from the farm rows right through the wetlands area. And then there's a little road with a white building that's to the middle of the west part of this map. And that building is the pack facility for Aston Farms that's been in this community for 101 years. And I desperately don't want them to leave. They're my favorite strawberry. Forgive me, Jamar Farms, who are my friends. But the reason that that's significant, that road right there, and the protest that we have from Valencia Lakes, and this is something that we have to take into consider going forward into the future for planning, is there is what looks like an easement area between Valencia Lakes that leads to a road that you can just barely see at the edge of the map. That's like 19th Avenue. That was always planned and approved for in that rezoning, for that to be a connected 2-lane road from Aston Farms that's been there for, again, over a century, and for them to be more easily able to get their trucks in and out of that community. The community came in. That was only built starting in 2005, finished in 2019, over 80 years later after this farmer had been there. And they came in, and the commissioners at that time, and without any notice, got that lifted. The county went in, they put up 3 reflectors right there at the end of his driveway and stopped and just didn't build out that road that was always approved in the planning of what we were approving at this dais. It forced many of his trucks to go north to get out there on 672, and it just very complicated that specific plot of property. I'm not trying to speak for them, but those are the facts that were presented to me by my friends that live in the area and deeply care about Waimama and have been there for over a century. So because of those decisions that were made and changed, it has now impacted this area. So I do support controlled growth. I mean, I wish the wetlands, for them to get 4 homes per acre is going to be very difficult, because there's going to be lots of stormwater management. I've said it's been said again that it hasn't been talked about, but I've said it over and over. There's going to be tons of impact fees and stormwater management that is going to be done in the rezoning. I don't know why that's continued to be confused, but it has been talked about and it will be approved. It's just that we don't do it in comp plan text amendments. So I will move for approval.
Okay, we got a motion to approve CPA 2411 by Commissioner Wellstell, second Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Kemp?
Yes. I'd like to ask again, how many units will be permitted here?
Jay Collins, Planning Commission staff. It's 1,102 units that is currently allowed under the land use. It would go to 2,204 units under residential 4.
Okay, so as I said, between these 4 things tonight, we're talking about 8,400 more units, and I'll say 4 to a unit because these are single-family homes. Typically, if you go across everything from efficiency apartments and everything, you come up with 3, but these are single-family homes. We're going to be, somewhere at 33,000 people along this, which is far bigger, actually, than the population of Temple Terrace in just these 4 areas. This is shocking, massive growth. And, sometimes the wetlands, can I ask staff also, when you have wetlands, sometimes you can get benefits from wetlands. You can get density benefits. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am, you can, and Ms. Lennar might be able to speak specifically to how that is calculated.
Yeah, no, I don't think we need the specific calculations. But just because you have wetlands there doesn't mean that you don't build as densely. Actually, you can build more densely sometimes depending on how the wetlands work out. And just because you have the wetlands there, you're allowed to then put, that acreage that you have, it doesn't mean you can't put 5 homes in an acre if it works out that way, that you need that to have what has been approved for you to use. So I think it should be very clear that we are probably looking at this many homes as well. I hear about transmittal. Oh, send it to the state. Well, 15 or 20 years ago when we had the State Department that was serious about reviewing comprehensive plans, when I was back there, when I was an aide in 2004, sometimes they would end up at the state for a year before they would come back. They come back in like weeks now, and nothing ever gets denied. Nothing is ever reviewed. It's just rubber stamped at the state, whatever happens, which even puts, or should put, more of a burden on the commissioners to make a plan for the future. This is not responsible growth planning. This eliminated all the community benefits. We're not doing anything to look, stormwater isn't part of one of those impact fees, by the way. That was something that we have separately that we charge for. We don't have a stormwater impact fee. We don't obviously have a plan. We don't even have a plan for all the places that are developed in flooding now, which we need some serious investment in, as well as the roads in areas that we already have without this additional impact of 33,000 people, more than the city of Temple Terrace. The scope of this is massive, and it's truly irresponsible, and it's not managing growth well. It's not talking about resiliency, and I think that the citizens in all ways have made really compelling arguments, and I just want them to know thank you for standing up and educating everyone about what's going on, because that isn't part of the presentation that the commissioners are getting, and they need to hear from you. At the next meeting, if you can get 3 commissioners who say no, or who go from, 2,000 homes to 300, or the comprehensive plan amendment that's massively reduced, or says no to some of them, or part of it until they get something that becomes more reasonable. This should not be that developers are just coming in, we want to build 33,000 homes, and the commission just goes, oh, okay, that's fine, do that, without any. This
Okay,
this
Commissioner
is just
Kemp,
stunning.
let's bring it in.
So I'll be a no vote.
Okay, thank you. The clerk want to make a comment before we vote?
It's actually me.
Okay,
I think it's written wrong tonight. I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Grace, when he was talking before, he talked about the open houses. Next week, call them public hearings. I just wanted to clarify that they are just informational open houses. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Wilson, second Commissioner Myers for CPA 24-11. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried 6-1.
All right, can we have a motion for CPA 24-10?
So moved.
Motion Commissioner
Second.
Wostel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, lastly, we need a motion to adopt the resolution for transmittal of the amendments that were approved this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Commissioner Wostel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, thank you. With that, we're adjourned.